As Tennessee is seeing more transmission among friends and families gathering inside when people let their guard down. The third wave of the coronavirus cases here in Tennessee, we're told, could be worse for hospitals as the number of patients is larger than ever. Fox 17 News' Alex Apple's now live in West Nashville to tell us why it's no longer bed space the governor and his people are worried about right now.
Right, Scott, it's staffing that they're worried about. Think about this. You expand hospital capacity, you have a bed sitting there. Well, that's worthless if there's no healthcare worker to take care of it. And it's here in our neighborhoods, with our friends, with our family, that now the state is most worried about transmitting the disease.
Typical flu season, we're layered on top of the current surge in hospitalizations for COVID patients. We would have statewide capacity issues.
Flu season's upon us, and simply expanding hospital capacity to venues like the Music City Center might not make any sense. Health Commissioner Lisa Piercy explains.
An empty bed without a staff member beside it means nothing. It doesn't do any good. Part of the challenge of current hospital capacity is not physical space, it's having the staff.
And every hospital in the country is competing for talent. We pressed the governor on whether he planned to ask Tennesseans, as a remedy, to stop leaving their homes as often.
We can put in place an environment to facilitate, but at the end of the day, people will make their own decision as to what they do day to day with their lives.
A statewide mask mandate remains off the table, even as Vanderbilt's health policy team shows areas with mask mandates have less transmission. 62% of the state is currently under such a mandate, and the governor answered if, at some point, the request for personal responsibility is failing.
I think at the end of the day, personal responsibility is the only way. I mean, people will either choose or not choose to socially distance, or choose or not choose to wear a mask.
But Lee's concern Wednesday surpassed any language he's used before, telling county mayors a mask mandate certainly is worth considering.
I think that every mayor certainly ought to look at the case counts in their state, look at the growth of hospitalizations that are coming from their individual community. They certainly ought to be considering it.
To help with reducing the stress on our hospitals, Tennessee's capacity is at the lowest that it's been. There's more hospitalized patients now than ever before. The state has set up a $51 million grant that can help hospitals with a couple of things: recruiting new staff members, paying overtimes for ones already there, or whatever they need to make sure that they've got the staff ready should this continue to rise.
New video tonight showing a giant maskless gathering at a private event held at the Fairgrounds on Sunday.
Now this, while other concert and event venues had been held to strict COVID-19 guidelines to keep people safe. Fox 17 News' Kathleen Jacob live at the 5 spot in East Nashville to tell us how the health department locally is dealing with groups who are breaking the rules.
Yeah, I spoke with one of the owners of the 5 spot who tells me that they've had to really change their entire business model just to get by and make sure that they're keeping other Nashvillians safe. So when he sees and hears about gatherings like this, it's really like a slap in the face.
It looks like something you'd see back in 2019, a giant group of people in cowboy hats dancing closely with no masks and what looks like no cares. Definitely not something you'd expect in 2020 as a pandemic rages on. But alas, the health department says they're investigating this event held at the fairgrounds just this past weekend. The health department didn't have anyone available to do an interview, but they did send us this statement explaining the group had permission to hold the event, and organizers signed a waiver saying they'd practice social distancing and mask wearing. Now they're under investigation and could face citations by the health department. The department also tells me the group will likely never be approved for an event again.
It's just idiotic that they can't just wait and until this is over to get back at it so we can all do it.
Todd Sherwood is one of the owners of the 5 Spot, a popular East Nashville music venue. He's had to convert their space to stream concerts and record for bands rather than host his usual gatherings.
All that I see when I see gatherings is many more months of us not being able to open to the public.
More months of following the rules while they watch others continue to break them.
It's been stressful. We can't do what we've been doing for 15 years.
Pushing all of Nashville to be respectful of their neighbors.
The health department tells me that they haven't yet traced any cases to this event, but it's still very early. They're monitoring this. That incubation period is 2 weeks long.
In the path forward, Fox 17 News continuing to dig deeper into the reasons the owners of a popular downtown restaurant in Nashville say leaves them no choice but to close until the pandemic breaks.
Now, Acme Feed Seed Owners say this move is temporary and really it has a lot to do about safety enforcement. Fox 17 News' Kathleen Surrey joining us live from downtown this evening after taking their concerns to the mayor.
Well, Acme Feed and Seed was closed from mid-March to October 1st when they reopened again. But now, just 2 weeks later, they're closed again. They say the response from city, state, and even country leaders to COVID-19 just isn't creating a safe enough environment for their employees. So today I went to city leaders for reaction. I started by emailing and calling the mayor's office. Sent you over an email for a story we're working on today. I sent them the statement Acme posted on social media yesterday, where they said, quote, "We see the lack of enforcement of their own mandates by the city as the determining factor in our decision to close Acme until science says it's safe." I asked for a response to this and if the mayor believes enough is being done to enforce mandates in Nashville, but his office referred me to the Metro Health Department. They sent over a statement saying the city's large-scale enforcement effort involves hundreds of Metro employees and has resulted in citations, closures, arrests, and fines across Davidson County for those endangering public health. They also say the mayor's Hospitality Advisory Committee will be evaluating what steps to take to increase compliance with safe public health practices. But Acme Feed and Seed owner Tom Morales says the city's lack of enforcement has given an unfair advantage to competitors not abiding by reopening guidelines.
The enforcement that's been on Lower Broad has been a wink-wink enforcement. The city needs the tax revenues. You know, the hotels need people in them. I understand that part, but I also understand that if we have a level playing field and everybody is mandated and the enforcement is the same across the board, then it's a better community for all of us.
Kendall Morales is another owner, and she says even though they can control their own internal safety practices,
we cannot control the external customer who is coming into the restaurant, and in that regards, that's where we're not, seeing the support that we need to handle that, and that is why, that's made the decision for us.
While they're closed, Acme's owners say they're going to be focusing on small private events that they can fully control. They've also furloughed nearly all of their employees again, continuing their benefits and promising them a job still on the other side of this pandemic.